Almost every great leader I've worked with has had to face one very uncomfortable realization. What made them successful early in their career is exactly what's holding them back now. Doing got them here. Letting go will get them there. There's a great book by Marshall Goldsmith, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, something I'd recommend you read. That's the paradox. Early in your career, success is all about performance, knocking out tasks, being the reliable go-to person, solving problems quickly, and showing results. You were rewarded for getting things done. You likely built a reputation on being the one who always delivered. And that's probably what got you to where you're at. But somewhere along the way, usually around the first big promotion or leadership assignment, those very strengths start to become liabilities. The same instinct to jump in, fix, and control can now actually stifle the team, limit innovation, and erode trust. This is a shift from doer to leader, and it's one of the hardest transitions a professional can make. There's a myth about control, and one of the most powerful examples of this is a client I had years ago. This woman was a genius of getting things done and had just moved into senior leadership. Her entire DNA was wrapped up in getting things done. It was exactly why she'd been promoted. However, that isn't what her senior leaders wanted from her. It's a common trap. You see a mistake coming. You know you could do it faster. You jump in. You take over. It gets done. You breathe a sigh of relief. But something invisible just happened. Your team watched you not trust them. They felt it. You taught them to wait for you instead of to think for themselves. You taught them to wait for you instead of to think for themselves. The root issue? It's control. Or more precisely, the fear of letting go. But here's the truth. The best leaders aren't the ones who control every outcome. Listen carefully to what that just said. The best leaders aren't the ones who control every outcome. They're the ones who create the conditions where other people can thrive. I'm repeating myself a lot here, but it's really important. Good leaders are the ones who create the conditions where other people can thrive. That's the shift. Now, we go from being efficient to being multipliers. Think about it this way. Doers focus on efficiency. Multipliers are those that the leaders that focus on multiplication. Liz Wiseman wrote a great book on, and it's a single word title, Multipliers. I'd recommend it as an excellent book. Leaders focus on multiplication. As a doer, you ask, how fast can I get this done? As a leader, you ask, how can I make sure others know how to do this without me? How can I make sure others know how to do this without me? That's a very different question, and it requires patience, vision, and this is the hard part. Patience, vision, and now the tough one. A willingness to tolerate short-term inefficiency for long-term growth. Oh, that's a huge challenge. I've had leaders tell me, I don't have time, Carl, to train someone else. It's faster if I just do it. And they're right. Absolutely correct in the short term. But in 6 months, they're still working late while their team waits for direction. It's not sustainable. And worse, it creates a culture of dependency instead of capability. Now let's talk about what we call the trust equation. Letting go isn't about being hands-off. It's about being intentional with what you hold on to. say that again. We're repeating ourselves a lot today because we're putting a foundation, because this is so essential. Letting go isn't about being hands off. It's about being intentional with what you hold on to. In their book, The Trusted Advisor, David Meister, Charles Green, and Robert Galford introduced the trust equation, a simple but powerful way to understand the components of trust. Trust equals credibility, reliability, and intimacy over self-orientation. So just think of an equation. Top line, credibility, reliability, intimacy. The mathematical line, and underneath, divided by self-orientation. Doers often score high in credibility and reliability, but the moment they micromanage or overfunction, self-orientation spikes and trust drops. Leadership is built in those moments when you choose to listen instead of solve, to ask instead of tell, to delegate even when it would be easier to do it yourself. Again, a repetition. Leadership is built in those moments when you choose to listen instead of solve, ask instead of tell, delegate even when it would be easier to do it yourself. One executive I worked with ran a division that was running over $300 million. He was doing too much, but every time we tried to peel something off his plate, he would quietly grab it back. Eventually, we made a deal. For every task he took off his list, he had to document why he was letting it go and what success would look like in someone else's hands. It was awkward at first, but within months, his directors began stepping up. Meetings got sharper, decisions were faster, and most importantly, he looked better. That's what happens when a leader learns to let go. But this letting go can lead to another little crisis here, and we call it the identity crisis. Another hard truth. Many leaders have built their identity around being the doer. Letting go can feel like a loss of relevance. It's a common shift I see in coaching. A leader moves from running a regional team to overseeing national function, and suddenly they say, "Doesn't feel like I'm doing anything." But when we look closer, their calendar is full. Strategic conversations, work on culture, hiring, vision setting. The work has not disappeared. It's just changed. And it's no longer task-based. It's leadership. Remember, managing is doing tasks. Leadership is influencing people. So let's look back. What you're doing, your calendar is full. Just because you're not checking boxes, you're doing strategic conversations, cultural work. You're looking at hiring. You're looking at vision setting. Your work has not disappeared. It's just changed. And that's the identity shift that matters. Moving from I'm valuable because I do, oh, such a key phrase. Moving from I'm valuable because I do to I'm valuable because I empower. That's not a loss. That's the next level. Now, there are times where you feel like you're letting go and someone's going to drop the ball. So how do you do this? How do you actually start letting go without feeling like the whole thing's going to fall apart? Here are 5 practical steps in making this transition. First, name the pattern. Start with the awareness. Where are you stepping in too often? Who are you rescuing? Where do you say, I'll just take care of it? Naming and seeing the pattern is step 1. Now let's redefine your role. Write a job description for yourself, not based on what you do, but on what your team needs from you. Strategic clarity, coaching, cross-functional alignment, that's your real job now. And now the third, build capacity, not just results. Oh, that's a big one. Build capacity, not just results. Shift your metrics. Ask, what am I building in my people? Results matter, but if no one else can do what you do, you're a bottleneck. You're not a leader. And say this fourth step out loud. Try this in your next meeting. I realize I've been doing too much of the doing. That stops today. I'm here to support, not to solve everything. Let's figure out how to do this together. That one sentence can reset the entire dynamic. And you've got to stick to it. The fifth is something you're going to struggle with. I guarantee it, because most doers don't celebrate real well. So let me tell you what step 5 is. Celebrate what you didn't do. That's right. Celebrate what you didn't do. At the end of each week, don't just track the wins. Track the things you didn't do because someone else stepped up. That's leadership growth. Now, my final thought, and you've heard this before, good things are a marathon, they're not a sprint. Okay, so along that line, leadership is a relay, not a solo sprint. The best 400-meter run in history was not done by one person. It's done by 4 people running 100 meters as fast as they can. In leadership, success isn't about crossing the finish line first. It's about handing off the baton well enough that your team finishes strong, even without you running beside them. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or like everything depends on you, that's not a badge of honor. That's a sign you're stuck in the doer trap. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the next growth step, and it's where real leadership begins. I'd like to suggest, if you're in this leadership transition, one of the best books ever written on leadership and getting a feeling for what it is this book here, The Leadership Challenge by Kouzes and Posner. It's used by some companies as required reading for their top leadership. It looks thick, it is thick, and it's a Bible, so you will learn well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when the next video drops. And if you're ready to take leadership to the next level, head to our website, coachinggroupinc.com, to learn more.